Okay, I saw a lot of stuff at CES this year, and today we've got one of the newest innovations from a company called Dreame. This right here is the Z20 Station, all-in-one stick vacuum and self-cleaning dock. Let's get right into it. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Desmond. I make content about tech and travel gear, and recently I traveled to one of the biggest tech conferences in the world, and that is CES. Now, I saw so many new innovations coming out, from imaging technology to robots to AI, but something that I saw almost everywhere across the show floor was some type of innovation when it comes to home tech. What I saw probably the most was in the cleaning technology. And this right here is from Dreame, one of the companies at CES that also won a Best of CES 2025. This is their Dreame Z20 Station, the cordless vacuum, as well as the self-cleaning charging dock. Now, Dreame is a sponsor of this video, so we are going to do a full overview of the Z20 Station, the vacuum, the self-cleaning, all the features, the function, just kind of walk you through why this particular product stands out from some of the others on the market. And before we jump into that, I just want to call out how interesting it was to see so many different brands announcing all this new home technology. Obviously, most people in the world live in a home, an apartment, anywhere where they're gonna need a solution like a vacuum cleaner. So it was very cool to see all of the technological innovations, the tiny little things that companies are doing to make all of this technology much better and make that user experience a lot more futuristic, in my opinion. So let's just start with the vacuum itself. It is from premium line of vacuums. So this is amongst their most cutting edge, best designed stick vacuums in terms of cleaning technology, user experience, and just overall features. And the first thing I will say is design, I think, is quite nice. So this looks like your standard stick vacuum. The shape is pretty consistent with the industry. I've got vacuums from companies like Dyson and Bissell. I've used a number of these different types of vacuums because I've got dogs and kids, so I'm very familiar with this design. But what I will say is this is a pretty well-balanced mix of colors and materials. The build quality feels sturdy and durable, especially compared to some of the other stick vacuums I've used and still own. But the one thing that I will call out is the container here is relatively small, but that is because it has its own self-emptying docking station, which we will talk about a little bit more later. And of course, you're gonna find a standard and also interchangeable vacuum suction head down here. Both of these pieces are removable, so you can use the different attachments that came with the vacuum cleaner. Now, before we jump into the station, let's just talk about some technical specs so you know what this thing is capable of. First of all, this uses what they call turbo motor, which is really a high-powered motor that gives you about 140,000 RPM in terms of rotation and suction power, which again is great. Like I mentioned, I have a dog, I've got kids, there's crumbs, there's carpet all over the house. So the more suction, the better for my personal use case. Next, they have Celestech illumination, which is really a fancy name for the green light dust detection technology that they've built into this. I've seen this and used this in other brands and vacuums before. I actually find this really quite helpful, especially if you're vacuuming, say, hardwood floors or kitchen floors where it's not as obvious if you vacuumed an area like on a carpet, for example. And of course, what you would expect is a high quality all surface brush. Right here, this is interchangeable, but the brush and kind of the rubber in here makes this great for suction. There's just a lot of hair in this house and a lot of things that need to be vacuumed, so having a high quality brush is gonna be really important. There's also a lot of mix of materials. I've got carpet, I've got hardwood floors, I've got kitchen floors, so being able to use this across the entire home is also very useful. Another feature you'll find is their smart suction technology. So they're built-in sensors that kind of monitor the dust levels or the suction levels you'll need in real time, and they adjust the motors to give you exactly the amount of power that you need to get the job done. And of course, what's important for most vacuum cleaners is a high quality HEPA filter. So there is an H14 filtration system in here. It'll trap about 99.9% of all those microscopic particles, dandruff, allergens, all of these tiny things like fine dust that you have in your home. We've also got a pretty standard LCD screen, which just gives you information about the suction, the power, the mode, all of that is available here. So when you're vacuuming, you know what you're doing, but it does allow you to switch between different modes, eco, power, all of that good stuff. You can see this here, and the animations are actually quite nice. Now let's talk about what I think is the most important element of this whole system, and that is the Z20 Station. Because without it, this is just a very high quality stick vacuum. It's the station that sets it apart from a lot of the other options in the market and probably has most of the innovation baked into it. First of all, like I mentioned, automatic dust collection. So after you've used the vacuum on your standard run around the house, you just drop this back into place. It looks great, it looks well integrated, and the system will self-empty all of the dust in the canister into a completely separate compartment inside the station itself. Now, inside that compartment is a dust bag. So we are back to the days of having interchangeable dust bags, but it's relatively large and it keeps all of that self-empty dust in a pretty contained place. So all you really have to do is replace that dust bag once it's full. And based on the testing, get about 100 days worth of dust or 3 liters of total collection in each bag. The package they sent over included a second bag as well, and you can just order new ones on the website. Really depends on where your priorities are. I think the convenience of having a self-emptying system, it's fine with me to have this interchangeable bag system, but for some of you out there, you may just want to remove and empty your canister like with a Dyson or a Bissell or some of the other brands available. And of course, the second piece is the storage and charging. Like I mentioned, this entire system is well designed and looks very minimal. So when you're done and not using your vacuum, you place it on the dock, it self-empties, but it also charges via this dock as well. So again, if aesthetics is important to you, this is a great option, because for some of the other vacuums that I own, usually I have to mount it to my wall or I lay it against the corner depending on the options available. But the fact that this is an all-in-one system means I can simply dock, charge, empty it all in one place. And I just find a beautiful spot for the station in my home so that everything looks very seamless. The other thing I mentioned a little bit earlier is attachments. So of course this thing came with a number of attachments, things for cleaning the car, smaller pieces like this, maybe for upholstery, and then of course something like this for getting into the grooves or the hard to reach spaces in between couch cushions or around small areas. They all came with a holder. Oftentimes when I buy a new stick vacuum with lots of accessories, they just kind of give you a bag to dump it in, but there's also a little docking station for this as well, and you can keep this next to the Z20 Station. Now overall, like I mentioned, for use cases, everyone that lives in a home or an apartment or a condo, it doesn't matter, use case is simple, right? It's cleaning technology. It's something that's gonna help clean your home. It's going to help vacuum your carpets, your floors. Everybody needs a vacuum. But the innovation here, I think, comes in the kind of combo situation. The vacuum itself, yes, a lot of great innovation here. It's powerful, it sucks up dust. That's cool. Where I think it's special is the Z20 docking station, because combined, this becomes a very aesthetic, well-designed, and relatively efficient option for a lot of you out there looking for a high-quality kind of home vacuum. Because the vacuum itself, this container, is relatively small. You can remove and empty this yourself. So it's very simple to just pop off the canister just like this and open it up and you can empty it. So you don't have to use the docking station, but you should, because it adds a lot to that convenience. The other piece, because it handles the charging and the self-emptying of the canister all into this little bag, it makes cleanup pretty simple, because again, as someone who has owned different types of stick vacuums, sometimes just the process of like emptying your canister into a trash can still gets all that dust blowing out of it. So if you're someone who really values the importance of keeping dust exactly where it should be, from the vacuum cleaner into a dust safe bag and not getting back into your home, this is an incredibly efficient and secure way to do that. Maybe it's a bit over-engineered, but if that is important to you, this is the best way to do it, because the dust goes straight into this container. The container drops it directly into this dust-safe bag, and it won't find its way back into your home. Now, the docking station itself, in terms of design, I think this thing looks great. It is a matte black plastic construction. We have the magnetic door here that showcases and hides that dust bag. The dust bag simply slides out and back in when you need to replace it. I did get a spare dust bag, which I keep inside this compartment as well. And generally speaking, you have one plug. You plug in the station and you are good to go. All right, and that is my overview of the Dreame Z20 Station. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. I will leave links to all the products in the description below, and I will see y'all in the next one.